Hey, Greg, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you, Nick?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. So great to have you here. Great to have everybody else out there today. So we finally getting some nice weather here in New York. So this whole quarantine thing is seeming a little bit less bad in the sense that, it's kind of nice to be outside. We had snow 2 days ago. What about you? How are things there?
Oh, well, yesterday was fantastic. Perfect, sunny, beautiful day, which was great because my wife and I were celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary.
That's right. I saw that.
And
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. We literally walked all over town. So we walked 6 miles yesterday and just sort of revisited all the different places we've lived and walked, throughout the many years we've lived in Ann Arbor, which almost lines up perfectly with when we got married. We got married in 95, and about 6 months later we moved to Ann Arbor. So it works out well.
Nice.
So yeah, we managed to have a good one. Today has been rainy and kind of yucky, but
Yeah. Yeah, that happens sometimes, but good that you had the right weather for the right day anyway. That's awesome. A nice little 6 mile walk. I've been doing some walking, but hasn't been 6 miles. It's been like more like 2 miles a day. So, so that's quite
anything
a
is
walk.
better than nothing, right?
That's right. That's right. It's nice to finally be able to get outside again. So it looks like we got questions already right off the bat.
Oh,
So
sweet.
let's get right into it. So Jerry asks us, is Priority Pass going to be irrelevant for the foreseeable future, being that most locations have buffets that may not be open once travel resumes? So, I mean, obviously it's irrelevant right now if you're not traveling, and most of us aren't. So is it going to be irrelevant like forever? What do you think? I mean, it's buffets, it's self-service drinks. Ew.
That's
In the new
right.
in the
That's a
new
really
world
interesting
order here.
question. I mean, the lounges still have benefit, I guess, assuming they open up, right? Of uh, being a quiet place to get work done, have better internet, and sometimes clean bathrooms. So it's not just about the food, but I think even the places that currently have buffets are going to have to figure out something, and, or else I don't know how they're going to open. So I'm picturing maybe they'll have pre-wrapped snacks or things in, like, sort of like pretzel bags and things like that you could just grab and maybe maybe spray something on the outside to to get rid of the virus and then open it up. I don't know. But I think actually it's a good question because I think it actually goes way further than just Priority Pass. I think a lot of things like
Yeah.
um, we don't know what it's going to be like anymore to get into the airport, right? So
Right.
right now we have things like goes and I mean clear and what is it called, TSA pre-check,
Right.
that let us get through security quicker. But if they're going to start requiring checks to see whether we have, a recent COVID test or
Right.
antibodies or who knows what, um,
That may
we don't
be.
know if any of that stuff will be relevant anymore.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and you take the same concept there with the Priority Pass lounge and you pass that on to hotel buffet breakfasts that, are included with elite
Right.
status often, or lounges in hotels. I mean, there are a lot of things that are going to be significantly different moving forward, I think,
That's a good
from the way
point.
they've been long term. So yeah, I'm not
Right.
really sure what to expect for any of those things in terms of, of what they're
Yeah.
going to be like.
Does it? Wow. Does it? So I think about when you mention that, I think about that Hyatt Explorus. The one true benefit it has are those upgrade certificates that get you into the lounge for free. But maybe that becomes worthless.
Yeah, I mean, I have to imagine that they're smart people in this industry, so they're going to come up with some sort of a solution. But
I think they will.
I don't know what it is yet. So I imagine that there'll be something. And like you said, I think that the first few times I went to a lounge, I was, wowed by the fact that I could eat and drink for free in the airport, a place that I was used to paying, through the nose for everything.
Right.
So that really wowed me in the beginning. But I think that as time has gone on, the thing that I enjoy the most about the lounge is just the sense of quiet and peace.
Uh-huh.
And so that's really the thing that I value the most out of lounge access in general. So that'll still be there. And so I
Right.
think I'll still appreciate that, at least when I'm traveling and I have to get work done anyway. And even not just work. It's just a nice, relaxing place to be. So I think I'll still enjoy it, but it's irrelevant right now for a lot of people. Also, it's worth saying
because we're
because
not traveling.
they're not traveling, and most,
Right.
as you said, I think in response to somebody on a comment somewhere, he said, most of the priority, or maybe you mentioned it in the post today, most of the priority pass lounges, or yesterday, I should say, are in international terminals or they're overseas. So even if you're traveling domestically, they're not usually terribly helpful for you. So
Right.
kind of irrelevant for a while. The restaurant ones, though, and the Chase cards that still have restaurant access, I guess that will be more relevant, maybe, for some
Yeah,
people.
I guess it
Yeah.
depends how restaurants are going to operate going
Yeah.
forward. It's
Yeah.
a little unclear, but
Right. Yeah.
yeah, definitely less valuable than before at the very least, if not
At the very
worthless.
least. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. So
All
next
right.
up, we get a question from Yuri, it looks like, right?
Yeah. So Yuri asks, is it worth MSing Surpass? So this is the Hilton Surpass card, $15,000, and that gets you a free night at almost any Hilton worldwide. And if you do it this year, it gets you a free night that's valid for 24 months plus valid any day of the week instead of just weekends as it normally is. Versus, so he's comparing it now. Is it worth doing that over the Radisson card, which if you spend $10,000 on it, you get a free night? Looks like Nick is talking to his family, so I'll take a stab at answering this one.
Yeah, you take a stab at that. I'll be right back, Greg.
Sure. Nick's been dealing with, I don't know the details, but he said a plumbing incident. So I'm sort of picturing him paddling his family out of the house right now. But anyway, so my take, so I think personally, I think the Hilton free night is worth like just way, way, way more than the Radisson one, because there are just much nicer Hilton properties. And the Hilton one works worldwide, where the Radisson one's just in the US.
Back
That
again.
said, so I was just saying that one of the advantages of the Hilton certificate over Radisson is it's valid worldwide. But maybe that particular thing is less meaningful than usual because a lot of us are planning on staying in the US for the foreseeable future, because we don't even know if we'll be allowed into other countries, even if we want to go.
Right.
But I still maintain that the Hilton one's better because Radisson just doesn't have that many great properties in the US. They have a few that are pretty nice, but just not many at all.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would hands down say the Hilton ones are more worthwhile. Greg's point is good there, and I'll add to that not only is it a factor of nice, but it's a factor of value. The vast majority of the Radissons just aren't that expensive, and there are some expensive Hiltons where you'll save more by using that certificate. I think on average, in general, Hiltons are going to be more expensive, so I think that night can get you more value in terms of just the cost savings. If you use that in a New York City,
Right.
for instance, the Radisson properties that are there just aren't terribly expensive. And there's only a couple, and that's relatively new because they had nothing in New York City for a long time. And there's quite a few cities in the US where they have nothing. So yeah, I would say Surpass over Radisson if you have to pick.
Right.
Not to mention that you can do it at the grocery store for 12x right now too.
I
right?
know. Well,
So,
that's what I was
like,
just going to say. Yeah, the 12x thing that lasts until the end of August, I believe. You can't beat that, and so it's worth MSing on that. If you could, MS stands for manufacturer spend. If you can MS, you have the ability to liquidate these gift cards now. I think the Surpass is a really strong option for what to use to do some of that.
And even if you're not MSing, just whatever your grocery spend is for the next couple of months, getting 12x on that and
it's
root to your
very good return.
15K night. Yeah, it's a great return. So I would definitely say Surpass hands down. All right, so next question up comes from Darlene, it looks like. Darlene says, if a product changed from a city preferred to the double cash, do I have a limited time to use the thank you points? Am I better off just applying for the double cash card when I'm beyond 524? So
Okay.
what happens to the points there? Go ahead.
Yeah, so it sounds like Darlene knows, which we've written about and cautioned people a number of times, that that when you change a thank you card to a double cash card, it does not preserve your points. And so she knows that we've talked about that, but she doesn't want to use up a 524 slot in getting the double cash. So presumably she doesn't have like an American Airlines card that she can product change from to the double cash, which would be my recommended option if you had that, just because that way there's no points that are at risk in any way. But to answer the direct question, yes, you do have some amount of time. I can't remember off the top of my head how much time you have, maybe 30 days or something,
I
to
can't
use
recall
your
either.
points once you product change, and then they will be literally just gone if you don't use them up before the end of that time. So
So you would say then apply for the double cash, or apply for, if you have an American Airlines card or something like that, for sure, product change. If you can wait to get the double cash, then get an American Airlines card now, I guess, and product change down the line to the double cash, right?
that's a really good way to get a sign-up bonus, because you can't get a sign-up bonus on the double cash. So you get the American Airlines card, get, what is it, 60,000 miles or something like that right now?
Something
I
like
don't
that,
remember
yeah.
off the top of my head, but that's pretty darn good. And then, product change down the line. If you want the double cash right away, though, that's not going to work.
Right, of course, yeah. Then you'd wait until you're over 524. But if you're not over 524 yet and you don't need the double cash yet, then I would take a sign-up bonus.
Right. But the other factor is, how many points does she have on the preferred? If it's a trivial number, then just cash them out some simple way. And
Right.
All right.
Okay.
So
Good.
next question is from Jerry. Jerry says, I have 25,000 Korean Air SkyPass miles from an old Chase transfer. I don't see being able to add to them. What are some ideal use cases?
I mean, 25K Korean, that's round trip economy class Delta to Hawaii, right, Craig?
I think that sounds right to me, yeah.
It's a round trip Delta flight within the United States or to Hawaii, I believe. It's been a while since I've looked at the Korean SkyPass chart, because they stopped being a transfer partner. I think it was probably almost 2 years ago now. But as I recall, I believe 25,000 is the rate for round trip economy class to Hawaii. So that'd probably be your best bet with 25,000 Korean SkyPass miles. I'm not sure what the other sweet spots are, because again, it's been a couple of years since Korean has been a transfer partner at Chase, and with that few points, I'm not sure what else you'd realistically be able to do apart from an economy class ticket in the US.
Right. And so that's actually a really good
That's a
use.
good
I mean,
use.
flights to Hawaii have always been a sweet spot with Korean, flying Delta. And if you did see something else that costs more, you could transfer Marriott points if you have them, 3-to-1, with a small bump if you do 60,000 at a time. But yeah, I agree with Nick.
I mean, there's also a couple of Korean SkyPass credit cards, but the sign-up bonuses are pretty weak on those. So, I mean, if you didn't want to go to Hawaii for whatever reason and you want to go somewhere else in the world, there are other ways to bump up your SkyPass miles. But yeah, that's what I would think. I don't know off the top of my head whether Alaska is the same pricing or not, but if Hawaii doesn't interest you, I guess I would check and see if you can get to Alaska with that many. And if not, within the United States, that should get you a round trip as far as I can recall. So again, that'll all be on Delta, and it's going to depend on Delta availability, which you never really know what you're going to get, but you can search it on the Korean SkyPass site. It shows up there. So should be easy enough to use. All right. So that brings us to question number 4 from Jason. It says, my girlfriend and I assume are feeling differently about having kids. I'm hesitant to have them because of my love of travel. Since you both have children, what is your take on this decision? Okay. So not sure whether or not to have kids because you love to travel, and so you don't want the inconvenience of having kids when you travel.
Yeah.
Wants the kids. What do you think, Greg? I mean, you have more experience than I do with this. You tell me.
Well, more years of experience, but you have much more recent experience.
Well, that's true. All right, so let's play both sides of that. Well, I mean,
yeah. No, I
what do you
mean,
say?
I mean, when you have a kid, either your travel has to change radically from what it was before, or you have to be willing to leave your kid with others, grandma or whatever, for extended periods of time, so you can continue to enjoy travel. My wife and I didn't want to do that, so we instead made sure we had travel where we accommodate our son, and he traveled a lot with us. And yes, some things are hard when you travel with a small child, but it's also very rewarding. You have all kinds of memories spending a lot of time with your child in amazing places. And as they get older, they have memories that are very special, and so I I'm a big fan of traveling with kids, and so uh, I think your girlfriend's right.
Yeah, so if you're not ready to have kids, I don't want to convince you that you should,
Right.
but on the flip side, if you're asking me, is having kids going to ruin your travel life? Like Greg said, it changed. We've been traveling with our son, so our son is 2.5 now. In the first 2 years, I think we probably made it to, I don't know, a dozen or so countries with him. And last year we did, I think, a little over 100,000 miles worth of travel with him. So he's been a lot of places around the world, and it's definitely changed the way we travel. We travel a lot more slowly than we used to. We used to try to pack a lot more into a day. Now, like one major activity a day with a kid that age is about what we can probably count on because we got to get in naps and everything else. So it definitely adjusted it. Now, that said, we spent a lot of years traveling before we had kids. So my wife and I were together, my goodness, probably about 8 or 9 years before we got married. And then we didn't have kids for a few years. So we did a lot of travel before we had our son. So I felt like I got that out of my system in terms of what I wanted to see and do before I had kids. And I never used to regret that. People always used to say, "Oh, did you want to have kids when you were young?" and blah blah blah. And I was like, "No, there were a lot of things I wanted to do when I was young, and then now I'm ready to have kids, and I really enjoy it." And it's funny that this question came up because just last night I was thinking to myself, do I wish I would have had kids when I was younger? Because I feel like people ask that sometimes when you wanted to be a young dad. And when I got thinking about it, I was like, everybody tells you that when you have kids, you're going to find out that you never knew how much you could love someone and all the rest of that. And it sounds corny and silly, but it's the honest to goodness truth. And I got to thinking about it the other night, and I was like, I would have more years with my son had I had kids sooner. And I don't necessarily regret that I didn't, but the fact that I had that feeling that I felt like, oh, because I waited, maybe I'm going to miss out on more time with him. I think that ought to tell you my answer to this is that I think kids are well worthwhile. I mean, I wouldn't trade my son for anything. So, and I've often said that if I could never travel again, I'd give it up if I had to. So I think that the answer is a lot of people have kids and they seem to enjoy it. And it's not just a, bunch of smoke and mirrors. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I think it's
actually think,
worthwhile.
now that you say that, I actually think that your career might have a bigger influence on whether or not it's a good time to have children than anything else.
That's
So,
the truth.
people have careers where they can't spend a lot of time with their family, and if that's the case, it's not the right time if you're not
Of
willing to give up
course.
that career. I don't recommend having a child if you can't be there to enjoy it
Of
and
course.
experience them growing up.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it definitely will change things, and maybe it's not the right time for you. But can you have kids and still enjoy travel? Yeah, you certainly can. And going through some of my pictures, we've had a lot of fun with my son traveling. So you can definitely do it. But if it really comes down to when you're ready to make that jump.
All right. So moving on to the next question, number 5. I've noticed all the grocery stores in my area are out of stock on the $500 gift cards. Is everyone seeing the same behavior with so many credit cards offering bonus on groceries?
I
Have you
honestly
seen
don't
that?
know. My local grocery store won't sell Visa gift cards with a credit card. You have to use a debit card or cash at my local grocery
Hmm.
store, and I haven't been traveling outside of my town often, so I have not even looked. So I couldn't tell you. You?
I haven't looked either. So, sort of similar thing at the grocery stores. There's several that I frequent. None of them sell gift cards at all, other than their own. So that just hasn't been a thing, and I haven't wanted to go out of my way to buy any.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I'll, when things change and I feel better about going out more, then I'll get to grocery stores a little farther away from home and hopefully be able to do some spend that way. But at this point, I'm not. I'm certainly not going out of my way to hit up any grocery stores. So I would think though that this is very location dependent. I mean, like everything else in MS,
Sure.
a lot of people say that their Staples is out of $200 gift cards the first day, but when I go to Staples like Saturday, the last day, usually the racks still have plenty of $200 gift cards where I'm going. So I think
Yeah,
it's
and
just very
in
location
and
dependent.
yeah, absolutely. In Ann Arbor, the racks disappear like immediately when there's a promotion on
Yep.
Visa gift cards at Staples or Office Depot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh,
that's just very location dependent. So, I mean, I think you'll just have to keep your eye out each time you go and take a look because those things get restocked now and then. So you just got to keep your eye out for those. All right. So, question 6 then. Next up comes from Adam. Adam says, if you think 12x Hilton at grocery store is a great return, would you transfer membership rewards earned at 4x at the grocery store to Hilton during the 50% transfer bonus when it makes it 1 to 3? Because the Amex Gold Card, of course, earns 4 points per dollar. So if you do get one of those transfer bonuses, then essentially on the Gold Card, you could also be earning 12x Hilton points. What do you think, Greg?
It's a good question. So, I mean, I would always, I don't think the earning rate is really the thing I would be looking at. I would still be looking at, there's a few things. One is, how much do I need those Hilton points at this time? I never want to transfer points, unless it's such a smoking deal, like with a transfer bonus that's like way out of control. I never want to do that unless I have an immediate need for what it's transferring to, because it's a one-way street. You're reducing the value of your points just by that action of narrowing down what they can be used for. I think of Hilton Points as being worth no more than half a cent each, because you can often buy them for that. So the question is, would I basically sell my membership rewards points for 1.5 cents each in order to get these Hilton points? And the answer is, I wouldn't do it without a need for them. If I needed them, that's not a terrible use. It's not great getting 1.5 cents per membership rewards point, but it's not bad. That's like a threshold at which I would definitely consider it.
Yep.
How about you?
Yep. Well, yes, you're absolutely right. That's a threshold that it's not bad. Generally speaking, I'm not going to transfer membership rewards points to Hilton, though, because I know that as membership rewards points, I have some much more valuable potential uses for them. So I would rather use those points for much more valuable uses, premium cabin travel with different foreign transfer partners, and use the Hilton points that I earned at 12x on the Hilton card for Hilton. So it's not necessarily that 12x is amazing return. It's solid return. Like Greg said, they usually sell the Hilton points at half a cent each. So 12x, I mean, that's like 6% return at the grocery store. That's pretty darn good. Now, do I think that 4x membership rewards points is better than 6%? Yeah, generally it probably is. But I have all year long to do that, and I only have a few months to get 12x on the Hilton card. So I'll take the few months while I can get the 12x. And I say that right now, first I'm using up my bandwidth on the Sapphire Reserve. So before I even move to the 12x.
All right. I'm gonna throw in a hypothetical.
Okay.
All right. You're planning a high value Hilton resort redemption. See the words available, but you don't have enough Hilton points. And there's two promotions going on at once. One is the transfer bonus, but the other is you can buy points at half a cent each. Which one are you going to do?
I think generally I would probably rather buy the points. I'd rather pay that much to keep my membership rewards points, but there's a threshold. I guess I have a threshold, a cutoff, because I'm not going to spend, let's say it's 80,000 points a night. I'm not going to spend $400 a night. So I'm not going to buy the points with cash at 400. So am I going to buy them with my membership rewards points? I guess that's what I'm going to do in that point, just because I'm too much of a cheapskate, I think, to imagine spending the $400 a night. It's a tough question, but I think I would probably lean towards cash. And that's, to me, that's the purpose of earning cash back on cashback cards and earning bank account bonuses for signing up for new bank accounts, so that I can take that kind of cash, so I can have extra cash on hand to be able to take advantage in a situation like that when I need to, and feel a little bit less bad about how much I'm spending. But yeah, I think that's a weak answer, as far as I don't really feel like I took a stance, but I think that's my answer. I don't know. Do you have something different?
For me? Yeah.
What would you say?
So I have a vague idea, and we've talked about this before, of how many membership rewards points I want to have around just in case.
And in your case, you're way beyond that.
If you count across the family, yes.
Okay.
The family points I manage. But so to the extent that I'm over that, whatever that is, let's say 300,000 or 400,000 or something, then yes, I would just make the transfer. I need the Hilton points. I've got the MR points.
That makes sense.
1 to 3, I would do it. If it was 1 to 2, I don't think so. I don't think so.
No,
because actually, if it was 1 to 2, I would I'd be better off cashing out at 1.25 because I have the Schwab card, and then buying the Hilton points. I'd get more Hilton points that way through that indirect route.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. And that's, I look at if you got, for example, the Bank of America premium rewards that I know Greg has, like earns 2.62, 5% back or whatever that is. If you're able to buy Hilton points at half a cent each, I mean, that's like, 5 points per dollar essentially there on everyday spend.
Right.
I would probably use that cash to buy, I think, instead. But like you said, if you're at the point where you've got so many points that you're not going to use them anytime soon, well, then yeah, of course I'd keep cash in my pocket and keep the ultimate flexibility and transfer, I guess. You're right. That makes sense.
All right, cool. Do we have any more? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So Robert asks thoughts on the upcoming altitude cards.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, so we've read
yeah,
about.
I
Have
almost
we
forgot
written
all
about it? I
about
can't
those.
remember if we've
Well,
written about it.
I think we did, although I don't actually remember whether or not we did.
I'm not sure either.
I don't know. Maybe not. It's been so long that it's kind of floated out of my mind, and I'm not really sure if and when they're coming. I feel like there's been a lot of discussion, but there's no hard date on that, right?
Yeah. So my vague memory is I think Doctor of Credit
Yeah,
reported that they were delayed, but I'm not
right.
sure that they gave a new date for when it would be released. I remember when it was delayed being disappointed, thinking they're missing an opportunity here because one of the
Grocery,
cards had, yeah, four, I think it was 4%. Is that right?
something like that. Yeah, for
On
groceries.
grocery? Or was
Yeah,
it
yeah.
dining? Maybe that
No,
was dining.
well, I thought it
I
was
don't know. But one, at least one of them
discretionary.
had 4x for dining, I believe, and I think that was the no fee card. And we talked about that before. That's a stellar return for a no fee card. And dining usually includes, in fact, I think it specifically included takeout and delivery as well, the way it was reported. So that was a really nice thing. The bad thing is that they're not true altitude points in that you can't apparently move them to the altitude reserve and spend them at 1.5 and get 1.5 points, 1.5 cents per point value. So I don't like that part that they're not sort of real. Like I was hoping that U.S. Bank was building up a currency the way Chase did, the
Right.
way Amex did, the way a number of banks have done, but doesn't. It seems like more of a naming, marketing thing.
Right. Right. And I think that part of it is really disappointing because I think they had a real opportunity there to be competitive. Although right now, perhaps they don't regret that as much as they would have.
Right.
But generally speaking, I think they missed an opportunity to be competitive. And it is 4x. It was, you're right, dining and takeout on the no annual fee card, which seemed pretty good for a no annual fee card. And that card also earns 2x at grocery, gas stations, and streaming services. Not particularly exciting if you can only cash out the points at 1 cent each, since you
Right.
get 2%
And
cash back
just use your
everywhere
double
pretty
cash for
easily.
those things.
Yep. Yep. And then the next one up, the Altitude Connect, is 4x travel and gas stations and 5x prepaid hotel and car rentals booked through their reward center. So again, the 5x there, prepaid stuff, that doesn't particularly excite me. 4x
No.
travel and gas stations, I mean, that's not bad, but the Costco card gets you 4% back on gas up to a pretty reasonable amount. And there
Yeah.
have been better options for gas, but not
And
necessarily
the
anymore.
the premier, like, even though it's less at 3x, it's
I'd rather
it's
earn
only
3x.
$95 a year, and you get transferable points. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's only the no fee card that really I find interesting. And but
Yeah, and
there
not
you go.
interesting enough.
Certainly not until it's alive anyway.
Right, right. All right, so Darlene has another question. Darlene says, does Citi only give you a sign-up bonus on the AA card every 48 months or every 24 months? Do you remember?
I think it's 48 with the AA cards, but if you go to our credit card page for whichever AA card you want, it'll actually say there'll be
There's a section that says application rules.
application tips or something like that. Yep.
Yeah, application tips.
Yeah,
That's what
and
it
so
is. Yeah.
we're pretty specific. It says like the AA cards, this is the rule. So
Yep.
look there.
Yeah, I don't memorize most of those rules because I don't need to, because they're going to be there on the best offers page. So I can always reference them when I'm writing something or talking about something. So that's where I go to check any kind of rules like that. So that's what you
Right,
should do,
right.
Darlene.
Yep.
So I was going to pop in a question, but it looks like we got another question coming in. So let's
All right.
get to this
Let
one.
me ask that one. Question 9 from BC. Does the 100K/10K Amex Biz Platinum have
No lifetime language.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I'd have to check. I would, it's hard. I'm always a little nervous too about answering that when I haven't looked at it. You got to look at the details. If you look at the pricing and terms link, I think is what it is, right? Where
It
the lifetime
it
language.
always has a link for something like offer and benefit terms, or you want to look specifically, try to find something about the offer or bonus, and there's always some kind of rule around the offer or bonus, and if it doesn't say anything there about lifetime, then you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So check those links underneath. There's usually one that's like, you're right, bonus offer terms, and then one that says pricing and something
Right.
else or else like that. So check those links, make sure that you don't see anything there that mentions it. So you always have to kind of check that one by one. I'm not sure if there's a blanket. It's always the same with the 100K offer. I don't think that's probably the case. It'll probably depend on where you're getting your link from. Okay. So then Dennis asks us, cashed out a stockpile of membership rewards points earned at 1.5x at 1.25 cents through Schwab. Dare I cash out ultimate rewards at 1-to-1? Is there a better way to cash out ultimate rewards points rather than at just 1 cent each?
That's a interesting question. So if Dennis had the Sapphire Reserve, like, I think it's theoretically possible to not cash out, but invest in airlines of your choice by buying non-refundable airfare right now through the Ultimate Rewards portal, and then canceling your flights to get with the airline, not with Chase, to get the credit with the airline. And that's because they all have these, like, not all, but certain ones have these rules right now where if you buy your ticket before the end of May, I think it is, then they'll refund it if you want.
So, and that's a good point, and certainly one way you could go about it. But I take the question to be that he just cashed out membership rewards points, so he prefers cash. He wants cash, and he's looking at cashing out Chase points. So, is there a better way to get cash?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, not that I can think of either off the top of my head. I don't think there's an option that you're going to do better than 1 cent each. I don't think there's any kind of travel you can book where you would get refunded in cash that I can think of. So yeah, 1 cent is going to be it. Although, I would personally, I mean, if you need the cash, you need the cash, then go ahead and cash them out. If you're
Sure.
cashing out because you're nervous that these programs are going to fold or, the devalue or that sort of thing, I mean, I probably wouldn't be cashing out for that fear. Unless you got millions,
Agreed.
I wouldn't be cashing out for that fear.
Right.
And even then, if you had millions, I wouldn't be cashing out for fear that they're going to devalue. It's just for fear that I'm not going to use it and I can use that money and invest it or do something better with it for now. So I probably wouldn't be cashing out either way. And 1 cent each, boy, I would have to need the cash in order to cash out the ultimate rewards. And if you do, then, by all means, cash them out for a penny a piece. Okay. Larry asks us, new Aspire, haven't picked an airline yet. Let's say you can only find a way to turn Amex Air incidentals into vouchers. What airline has the best future voucher options and or the best options in general? I know what my answer I think would be. What about you, Greg? So probably what your answer would be too. Let's see.
So
There's a couple of
certainly
things,
for the best options in general, I like Southwest. You can always book, use your points to book awards, and the award fees happen to count as airline incidental fees, even though they're not supposed to. Right now, you book a paid flight. So normally, when you book a paid flight, and you can cancel it, but you get credit back that has to be used within a year. Is that right?
Yeah, usually.
But right now they're giving more options if you cancel, including getting points back if you cancel. So that's pretty interesting. We don't yet know how many points you'll get, but when you pay for things like the automated check-in thing, so you get a better seat, that counts as an incidental fee. There's a lot of things you could do with Southwest. So yeah.
Southwest would be my pick too. I mean, both for the flexibility of it, that if you book something so let's say you book something to use up your incidentals with Southwest right now, like a flight that's less than $100 or those award ticket fees, and you cancel and then you take that as a Southwest credit, which, like Greg said, right now is going to be valid for 2 years from the day you booked it. The nice thing is that if when you use that to book another flight in the future, if your plans change, you can cancel that again and keep that credit and use it for another future flight. Whereas if you lock that money into another airline, then you may have to deal with cancellation and change fees. Not necessarily if you book today, but like down the road when you want to cancel and change, you may have stuff you run into. Whereas Southwest is always going to be pretty easy to be flexible with that. So Southwest would be my pick hands down. And the fact that you may be able to turn a cancellation voucher right now into points makes it more interesting to me.
It is interesting. So I didn't know that what you just said earlier about that you could book a flight with your credits before they expire, and that's essentially resetting the.
No,
Oh,
misunderstood me. So
okay, I
your credit's
misunderstood.
valid for 2 years right now, and let's
All
say
right.
that you book a flight in December for February, and then February comes around, and for whatever reason you can't take your trip, then you would be able to cancel that and book another thing. Whereas if you did the same thing with,
Okay.
let's say,
All
Delta
right. I
right
see.
now, then you may not be able to change it again.
Oh, all right.
Future. Whereas
Gotcha.
with
Gotcha. All
Southwest, you
right.
could change and change and change for the next 2 years, and it's not going to cost you anything.
But somehow they keep track of these
They have the
funds.
expiration date. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Because it's based on the original confirmation number. So, assuming
Got
you
it.
booked a paid ticket anyway, which is probably what you would do. Okay, so that's that. I think we agree there.
Yes. All
Yuri
right.
says,
Yep.
go ahead.
Yuri says, is Citi's AT&T AM
Access More.
More giving 3x when buying online at Simon Mall?
I don't know. It definitely wasn't before the $1,000 gift cards. When it was the $500 gift cards, it hadn't been anyway. I stopped using it because it wasn't. But for the $1,000 cards, I haven't tried, so I don't know for sure. But I would really doubt it because
Right. There's no particular reason to think we know it's being charged the same way, or at least it looks the same, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it says Simon Volume instead of just Simon, I guess. But
Oh, does it? Okay.
But,
Well, hey, it might be worth trying.
Maybe it's worth trying. I have not tried it out. I would not be particularly hopeful because Citi had pretty much shut down most of the gift card buying options.
Right.
But I'm not sure if you try it out, Yuri, and you get a data point, let us know. Right now, I'm not buying any more because I've got plenty and no easy liquidation right at the moment. So I've got a bunch of gift cards from before this whole shutdown happened and that I still need to liquidate when things kind of open back up in my area. So I'm not buying any more for a bit.
Sounds reasonable to me. So
all right. So Matthew asks next then, how can you tell if Amex is getting level 3 data? So level 3 data, for those people who aren't familiar, is when the issuer gets information about what you've bought. So you go to the store, use your credit card. Sometimes they just get a total in terms of how much you spent altogether. But level 3 data is more data that the issuer gets where they'll find out everything that you bought. And the reason, of course, you might be curious about that is because if you're buying a bunch of gift cards, you might be concerned that the issuer is going to see that you've been buying gift cards. So how do you know whether or not they're getting level 3 data?
So I don't have like a set answer to that. It hasn't been something I've tried to do, but I have noticed in the past when I've been logged into my account, looking at transactions, that sometimes when I click on one, it gives me an obscene amount of information about that purchase. And it's like, whoa, there's a good chance that when you see that, when you see the detail there, they must have gotten the detail from level 3 data. So I think that's the answer is you do a test purchase at a place and see how it shows up on your account.
There's also, if you Google it, I can't remember what the site is, but there's a site that lists merchants that provide level 3 data. So I'm not sure if it breaks it down in terms of Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. It seems likely that it would. I haven't worried about it in a long time. So I haven't looked to see because I haven't run into an issue with it. So I don't spend a lot of time being concerned about it. But if you do, then you can Google which merchants provide level 3 data, and there is a website where you can look it up anyway, I believe. So it may not list every single merchant on earth, but it'll at least give you a good idea.
All right. Anthony asks, are you planning on having any guests on the podcast? Maybe other from other boarding area blogs, Doctor of Credit or airline or hotel industry execs. What do you think?
Well, I think, are we planning to? Well, no, we haven't talked about it. So I guess we're not planning to
That's right.
yet.
Done.
There you go. Easy answer. I don't know. What do you think? Is it something we should do?
um, I don't know. So the frequent miler on the air, I like our routine where we're talking about the topics of the day and getting each other's input about it. And so I think I'd be inclined, if we were going to do any kind of interviews with others, to not make it part of that show, but do it separately. And I just haven't had a strong desire to do so. But
Yeah.
what about you? Do you?
No, well, yeah, no, I tend to agree with you that that I enjoy the format the way that it is. I also think that in some instances, like you talk about Dr. Credit, for instance, and I get the impression anyway that Dr. Credit prefers to remain anonymous because I don't think anybody knows who William Charles or Chuck really is in real life. I think
Right.
they've probably kept it that way intentionally. So I would think that they probably aren't interested in that kind of thing. For terms of other boarding area bloggers or hotel industry execs and things like that. I mean, there becomes a lot of coordination in terms of figuring out when and where and who, and then who do you move on to. So I don't know. I haven't really put any thought into it before this question, but I don't think it's probably something we'll move to do right away anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't count it out, but
No, I know. I mean, Dr.
there's no
Fauci
who's to
keeps
say.
calling, asking to be on our show, but I've been like,
Haven't
our
been able to
show's
fit him
really
in.
not about that. It's
There's a lot of people pounding on the door. Everybody wants to get on, but
right, right,
it's
right.
a matter of making room for them. So we'll have to see. Okay, so Jerry next asks us: is it better to buy store gift cards in non-rounded amounts for MS purposes, or is it okay to buy them in rounded amounts? So if you're going to buy store gift cards, he's saying, so like essentially, if you're going to go to, like, let's say Walmart and buy a Walmart gift card, is it okay to buy just $100 gift card, or do you need to buy $103 gift card?
Not really sure why you would do that. I mean, so people sometimes buy things in odd amounts to try to make it unclear that they're buying gift cards. I guess maybe the reason, maybe they're thinking about Amex. So Amex has strict rules, especially for the sign up bonus, where they say, you can't use buying gift cards to earn the sign up bonus. They also have those rules for earning points, but they don't typically enforce them except at Simon Mall. But so I guess the motivation behind this question is to say, can we sort of hide this from the credit card company by buying in odd amounts? What do you think?
I'm inclined to say probably not. It probably isn't worth it. If they want to know, if you're buying, thousands and thousands of dollars at whatever store it is, I think, probably a human being who actually reviews your account is going to notice that that seems odd, whether they're in odd amounts or not. So I think people overthink it a lot, to tell you the truth. I think that depending on the volume you're doing, maybe there's a point where it matters, but I think that the volume that most people are doing, it probably doesn't. My true life story, I guess I would say, is when there's a deal at like Office Max or Staples and I manage to make it like multiple times throughout the week. Every now and then I'll throw in a bottle of soda or something so that it's not a million transactions to the same amount. But I think it's kind of silly. I don't really think I probably need to do that. I just do it every now and then because I'm going to get a bottle of soda somewhere anyway. So I may as well, work it in and see if that helps throw them off. But in terms of buying store gift cards, for a lot of years, I did resale before I worked at Frequent Miler. And so I bought lots and lots of store gift cards where I would, back in the day when there were a lot of places where you could double dip or triple dip, where you could go through a shopping portal and buy a gift card and then go through the shopping portal and use the gift card and earn points both times. I bought many thousands of dollars worth of store cards, and they were always in even amounts, even $100 amounts, and never had an issue with Amex or with Chase. Now, will you have an issue? Maybe you will. I don't know. It's hard. It's always your mileage may vary kind of a thing, but I think people overthink that. That's my thought. Do you disagree?
Yeah. No, I mean,
You do.
I could see.
Okay. You
I
can
don't
say it.
I disagree with buying soda. It's very unhealthy for you. You really should,
You're
just
right.
just
You're
keep
right.
a bottle of water handy at all times.
I
Drink
haven't,
from
I haven't
that.
had a soda in like 2 months now because I've been
Very
quarantined
good.
at home. So,
Good
so there
job.
you
Good
go.
job. Concerned about your health. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So,
So yeah, no. So add an apple or something to the stuff. Personally, yeah. There's the tiniest little chance that it might be helpful. On the flip side, dealing with like having to remember how much value is on different gift cards, I just don't want that kind of hassle. I'd rather know they're all 500 or whatever they are.
right.
So yeah, I don't do it. But.
Yeah. I don't worry about it. I don't worry. I used to buy thousands in gift cards to one particular store every month, mostly on Amex, and never had an issue over that. They would just store cards in even dollar amounts. So, I mean, again, I think right now, obviously, the economy is a little, wonky, and who knows the way issuers might decide to tighten up. So things could change tomorrow, in terms of MS and opportunities and how strict different issuers are. But I think that there's probably a misconception in terms of how strict things are. But of course, as I always say, if you're going to cry yourself to sleep over a shutdown, then don't do activities that might have a risk of getting you shut down. So you have to accept that there is some risk if you're buying, gift cards, for instance, in large volume. There's some risk there. So you may get shut down. Either it's worth the risk to you or it's not. So, I'd say that that's something else you got to consider. Now, somebody
Right.
brought up a question that I see in caps here that I think was probably confusion, is my guess, unless you think differently. So the question I'm seeing is, I've heard that's actually illegal, considered structuring. You heard something like this at the Ann Arbor Art Fair do. So structuring is different than what we were just talking about buying gift cards, and that has nothing to do with structuring the
No.
buying of the gift cards. It's depositing of money that could be considered structuring. So I'm not a lawyer. Consult with a lawyer, look it up. But the layman's definition or explanation of what that's all about is that there are reporting thresholds for the banks, and if you deposit large cash deposits, they're supposed to report that to somebody who's going to investigate potential money laundering and all the rest of that. So if you are intentionally making your deposits in the bank in odd amounts to avoid hitting those reporting thresholds, that's what structuring is.
That's actually illegal.
Yeah.
So you're better off.
That could get you in trouble.
You're better off actually having the stuff reported, because there's nothing illegal about what you're doing, hopefully.
Hopefully.
And
I hope you're not doing anything.
I mean, I don't know what you're doing, but
if we're talking about manufactured spending, manufactured spending isn't illegal.
Not illegal, but the banks, if you deposit like 10,000 or more, they have to fill out a suspicious activity report, and that's fine. I mean, let them do that. That's better than purposely depositing 9,000, hoping that they won't do that, because actually they might do it anyway. Plus, they might suspect you of structuring. So
right.
it only gets worse.
Yeah. So I don't mess with that at all. Personally, I hang on to money orders until I have more than 10,000 to deposit, and I deposit them at one time in more than $10,000 increments. So there's not a question as to whether I'm structuring my deposits.
Or if I'm doing a lot less, I feel like depositing 5,000 or less, then you just don't have to worry about it. Is my thinking.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're depositing 5,000 or less 3 times a week, and then
So we missed a question from Yuri.
Okay.
Any word on converting Southwest Credit to points?
I haven't heard. Apart from their announcement that you'd be able to, and they weren't sure, that the rates were going to be the same as today, but the technology wasn't updated. I haven't heard, but they did update the companion pass status for my wife the other day. So maybe that has also been implemented and we just haven't heard.
Maybe. So yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I bought a cheap Southwest flight, and I'm waiting for the Amex statement credit to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm planning to cancel that flight and see what my options are. See if I have any. So hopefully next week I'll be able to report that it's live or that it's not. But I probably won't. If it becomes live, I mean, we'll probably report the details, but not the sort of on the blog. We won't report the trick of getting Amex statement credit. Yeah.
Right. So when we hear, we'll let you know, because that obviously will be big news. All right. Carlos asks us, in your experience, if a store codes a certain way with Visa using the Visa locator, will it code the same way with MasterCard? I know Amex is its own thing. Just wondering if MasterCard matches Visa regularly. Oh,
Yeah,
someone else
as
said
far
June 8th on the Southwest thing, by the way. So I haven't heard that date.
oh, that
But
would be interesting.
yeah.
So
So
I think they do usually code exactly the same way, but that's all I know.
yeah,
Do you have
that
any
no,
knowledge?
that'd be the best that I would be able to tell you. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think probably, but you'd have to
All
do a little
right.
test purchase. You have to do a little test, and it's always worth making a little test purchase to see. And I say maybe, and here's a good example of one where I bet they wouldn't code the same.
Okay. That'd be interesting.
Because I just posted in our Frequent Miler Insiders Facebook group today about the fact that Chase is offering these grocery bonuses for the next couple of months for grocery purchases. So the Sapphire Reserve is giving 5 points per dollar and up to $1,500 a month, May and June. The Sapphire Preferred is 3x. The Bonvoy cards are 6x for 3 months and a different cap. But without getting into all the details there, key thing for me was that my wife went to Walmart the other day actually and spent $90 on the Sapphire Reserve, and we got 450 points from Chase. So it got the 5x at Walmart, which surprised me because
That's
Walmart
awesome.
typically does not code as a grocery store, and here it did. Now, what I've come to find out subsequently is that apparently the Walmarts that are coding at 5x need to have a bakery and a deli, so it's got to be like a full grocery store kind of a Walmart, not one of the really small ones. But I don't think that it's likely that a MasterCard would code that as grocery at Walmart, but for whatever reason.
Why? Why do you think it wouldn't? I mean,
Well, because I think that if there were Walmarts that coded as grocery, I imagine I would have heard that before, right? I mean, because is there just not a MasterCard that earns a grocery store bonus?
I can't think of one off the top of my head. That doesn't mean there's not one. I just can't think of one.
Yeah. And maybe there's not. Maybe
Whereas we've had a long time with visas, like the Freedom has grocery 5x at least once a year.
But that one doesn't. A couple of people said that they have not been getting the 5x at Walmart on that card. But
I bet if you went to the same register with the Freedom, you would. I mean, that would be so weird if a different Chase card bonus grocery
coded it differently. Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know. So yeah, I don't know for sure. I would bet that a small test purchase will probably tell you. And in my case, by the way, with the Sapphire Reserve, the statement hasn't cut yet. But if you go into your online account and you look at the transaction, you click the little arrow to the right of it, it'll show you the details so you can see how many points you're going to earn on that transaction. So that was just a couple of days ago, and I can already see how many points I'm going to get. My Citi account's been doing the same thing now, where it shows each transaction how many points it's earning within a day or two of the transaction posting. So you should be able to see, I think, with most banks pretty soon in terms of what you're going to earn on a particular purchase. So
right, that's great. All right, last question before lightning round. Larry asks, do you think the smaller airports that Delta and other airlines have pulled out of will survive? Nick, is it a big inconvenience for you with Stewart Airport gone, at least for now?
Well, Stewart isn't an inconvenience for me because I live closer to Albany, so I fly out of Albany domestically. Stewart, I've flown out of once or twice, but never on Delta and not much in my lifetime. And since Norwegian basically pulled out there, I don't think I'll probably fly out of Stewart anytime soon. So that's Stewart is far enough for me that at that point, I'd rather just drive to Newark and get a direct flight wherever I'm going. So I tend to fly out of Albany, so I haven't had that issue yet. Although honestly, I haven't been following the developments on which airports they've pulled out of. So for all I know, they've pulled out of Albany too. I doubt it, but I wouldn't know, to be honest with you. So I don't see any effect yet, but again, I'm not planning any travel yet at this point, any air travel. I haven't booked any flights or anything, so I haven't looked too hard at it. What about you, Greg? Do you have something to add on that?
I don't have any insight there at all. No.
Yeah. Stewart, I've flown I flew American out of there, I think once, maybe last year or something. Maybe not even. I couldn't even tell you. JetBlue.
Which direction is that for you? I don't know my geography there.
Yeah, it's in Newburgh. Okay. It's south. It's it's like Poughkeepsie area, if you know where that is. It's down towards New York City, and it's for me. Stewart is like about an hour and 45 minutes, almost 2 hours, whereas Albany Airport's like an hour and 10 minutes. So
gotcha.
I usually fly to Albany.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so that's that.
Lightning round, right?
Lightning round. So lightning round. Greg, Yuri asks us, do you think the altitude reserve edged the CSR after the $100 annual fee increase, especially when you have a Samsung phone? Is the altitude reserve now better than the
He
Sapphire
loves
reserve?
his altitude reserve.
He does.
I think that the altitude reserve for some people is never going to edge out Chase until they get transferable points. Some of us just love our transferable points, but yeah, I mean, if you like the equivalent of cash back, which to me the altitude card essentially has at 1.5 cents per point, then it's a great card. I mean, it's always been a great card. Is it sort of relatively, stronger against the CSR than before? Yes, obviously, because of that fee increase of the Sapphire Reserve. Do
I
you
mean,
disagree?
no, well, I think that if I were only going to have one card with an annual fee that high, and those were my two options, I'd have the Sapphire Reserve for sure. I mean, I'm going to want the transfer partners long term. So the day to day, I'm not going to have the Sapphire Reserve for day to day spend. Like if I'm going to get invested in the Sapphire Reserve, then I'm also going to have other Chase cards that earn
Gotcha.
good bonuses in different
But
places.
keep in mind that the altitude reserve is only like $75 once you get the travel credit back.
Well,
So
that's
it's
true. I
not
mean,
an
yeah.
expensive
So
card.
well, I mean,
Um,
yeah, right. And the Sapphire Reserve, if you count, well, it's still that's more expensive. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think the other thing for me is I don't spend that much money in person.
That's
So,
the thing. Yeah,
the
that's what I
places
was going
where
to say. I think it really depends strongly on how much you spend in person versus online, because
and
altitude reserve isn't much use online.
yeah, and I don't know if people are MSing on the altitude reserve because if they are, they're going to keep that quiet. In the beginning, U.S. Bank was shutting everybody down for that. So I assume you can't do a ton of MS on the altitude reserve. If I'm
All right,
wrong,
time's up.
keep it to yourself. Okay.
Devin asks, do you have any creative ideas on how to use the $20 shipping credit on MX Biz Platinum other than stamps?
I don't. You?
U.S. Post Office has an online store. You could buy all kinds of weird things like throw blankets and stuff. So
Might be able to get greeting cards at your local post office. FedEx
um,
office might have greeting cards or something like that, or paper.
and once some U.S. Post Offices actually sell gift cards, so you could go there and buy a gift card for a store you like or whatever,
There you
or save $20 on a Visa gift card.
go.
All right.
Okay. Next up, let's see. Roger asks, since Barclays appears to be 624, is it better to go for the Barclays AA card at 524 instead of trying to double dip a sixth Chase card, United, BA, etc.? Since Barclays appears to have the 624 now, I've heard some reports that Barclays is at like a 624 rule. I don't know as though I've known that that's set in stone. Is it?
Right. I don't know. If
Yeah.
that's set in stone, that's interesting. I don't know that, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. So is it better? It's basically saying if you're about to end your ability to sign up for Chase or Barclays cards, you're better off getting the AA card versus more Chase cards. My answer is to cheat by saying keep going for those Chase and Barclays and other banks' business cards to avoid going over that number.
Yeah. Does the double dip still work? I thought that the double dip stopped working.
I feel like there was a some kind of retaliatory situation where where people had been, I can't remember what it was, but I feel like there was some repercussion to the double dip worse than just not getting approved for the second one.
Yeah.
So the double dip, by the way, is when you're at 424, people in the past have been able to sign up for multiple Chase personal cards at once, so that they, or at least before it showed up on their credit report, so that they wouldn't be over 524 when they apply for the second one, because the second one they're doing at the same time.
Yep. Okay. So there you go. I agree with Greg. So Yuri asks, is it dangerous in terms of, I'm sorry, this was your turn to read one, wasn't it?
That's okay. Yuri asks, is it dangerous in terms of shutdown to MS 15K or more of MX Surpass at a grocery store?
I mean, it hasn't necessarily been dangerous, but will it be dangerous? My crystal ball is on the fritz, so I don't know for sure whether or not it will be. Would I do 15K in 3 months' time? I mean,
I mean, I know so many people do so
do a
much
lot
more than
more.
that with
Yeah.
Amex, so I wouldn't
Mhm.
be worried about that
There you go.
personally. Um, re- yeah, okay. So-
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
all right,
Okay.
last one.
Go ahead. All right. So this one is one. So it comes from Larry again. So one slot left before 524. MX Platinum or Aspire right now? We've kind of discussed this a little bit. Which one? Did your mind change at all? You did the analysis of the Aspire this week. Which one?
Well, I mean, you can get both. So is the question asking which one, or is the question asking, does it make sense to get one of those right now, even though it means going over 524?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the way I take the question. So the Amex Platinum obviously wouldn't. Well, I take that back. I was thinking business platinum. We're looking at personal platinum. So yes, does it? Yeah, I don't know. One slot left before 520. So maybe you're at 324, and he's asking, should I get them both and blow 524, or pick one of them? If you had to pick one,
if I had to pick one,
let's say you're 324, you don't want to give up both your slots for 524, but you're willing to give up one slot. Which one would you pick?
not knowing any, so normally I'd want to know your circumstances, like how much would you value the free nights and blah blah blah. But not having any of that kind of information, I think I would lean towards the Aspire.
Why? Lightning round. You only have a second, but but why? You get so much in credit. I mean, you're looking at like $820 in credits on the platinum card right now, right?
God, I don't know. You asked me my opinion. I don't have an answer. How about you?
I'd take the Aspire card. Hands down, I'd take the Aspire card. But I felt that way for a long time about the Aspire card. I mean, 250 resort credit is going to be super easy to use. 250 airline credit. We've already kind of talked about airline credits a little bit today, so I'm not going to beat that one over the head. But pretty easy to use that too. And then the free night is gravy and diamond status, so that you get lounge access. I mean, I think it's for 450. I think it's a great deal. I'm happy to pay that every year. And if you can get a welcome bonus on top, all the better. And then if you can pick up 12x too at the grocery store while you're at it, working on that welcome bonus, easy. Hilton.
It's a really nice combination. Yeah. All right. That brings us to the end.
All right. Thank you, guys. Oh, and how about, there was a tag onto that. I'm sorry. I know we're done, but how about CSP versus Chase Inc? Same scenario. Which one would you pick? Sapphire Preferred or the Chase Inc business preferred?
I mean, I would pick Chase Inc. Partly because it wouldn't use up your 524 slot, and then you could keep going for more after that.
And the other part is because it's an 80K offer instead of a 60K offer. So yeah, Inc business preferred. Done.
There you go. All right. Thank you, everyone. It's been fun. Thank you, Nick.
Yep. Thank you, Greg. Always good being here.
I'll see you tomorrow.
We'll
see everyone else next week.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.